In 1998, Procter & Gamble released what looked like a masterpiece of chemical engineering. They spent 25 years and hundreds of millions of dollars perfecting a fat substitute called Olestra. On paper, it solved an impossible equation. It gave consumers all the salty, fatty mouthfeel of a potato chip, but with 0 grams of fat. It was the optimal solution to human biology, but the biological environment pushed back. Because Olestra was too large for the human body to absorb, it moved through the digestive tract with what the FDA described as alarming speed. Consumers quickly found out that their flawless snack came with severe side effects, leading to plunging sales and eventual discontinuation. We like to view ourselves through the lens of Homo Economicus, the theory that humans are logical calculators. The assumption is that if we simply acquire enough data and sufficient processing power, we will always execute the mathematically perfect choice. Fast forward to early 2026, and we are being sold that exact same promise. Agentic AI systems like OpenClaw are moving past simple chat functions into autonomous workflows. We are told these agents will unbind our rationality, process infinite variables, and finally allow us to make those flawless, optimized decisions. The data from early 2026 tells a different story. This chart visualizes a recent AI and data leadership survey, showing a staggering 95% failure rate for enterprise AI pilots, placed right next to the massive volume of incoming data. Giving humans an optimal machine recommendation doesn't actually remove their cognitive limits. It creates total information overload. Watch as the timeline on this chart extends. Trials show that using these advanced AI tools actually increased task completion time for experienced developers by 19%. This is the verification bottleneck. Operators have to spend so much time double-checking the AI for invisible errors and hallucinations that they entirely erase the time they saved. By relying on AI to perfectly optimize our business logic, we have built the silicone equivalent of the wow chip. It is a system that works flawlessly in a controlled spreadsheet, but breaks down completely in the complex, contradictory reality of a modern business environment. The economist Herbert Simon dismantled the myth of human perfection decades ago. In 1957, he argued that because our brains have severe limits and our time is scarce, humans simply do not have the capacity for true economic optimization. This animation demonstrates Simon's alternative theory, satisficing. If you are looking for a needle in a haystack, a perfectly rational machine would analyze every single piece of straw to find the absolute sharpest needle. A satisficing human searches only until they find a needle sharp enough to sew a button, and then you immediately stop looking. Simon illustrated this bounded rationality as a pair of scissors. One blade represents your cognitive limitations, your memory, your biases, your computing power. The other blade represents the structure of your environment. You cannot understand a decision by looking at the cognitive blade alone. If the task environment is highly volatile or lacks clear data, the blades misalign, the scissors jam. Increasing your raw processing speed is entirely useless if you do not understand the structure of the environment you are operating in. History proves that immense intelligence cannot overpower environmental context. Sir Isaac Newton invented calculus and mapped the laws of gravity. Yet in 1720, he lost the equivalent of millions of dollars in the South Sea bubble. Newton had a massive cognitive blade, but he had no mental map for the social contagion of a financial panic. He fell for the herding heuristic, trusting the irrational frenzy of his friends and the market crowd over his own mathematical models. Modern AI agents suffer from the exact same vulnerability. They can process millions of data points in seconds, but they lack the qualitative context for human trust, social dynamics, and moral choices. Researchers at MIT identify this as a path to knowledge collapse. When we consistently accept the AI's answer because it is highly optimized, we stop exercising our own judgment. We lose the deep structural expertise required to notice when the algorithm makes a contextual mistake. Offloading your thinking to a machine traps you in an echo chamber of algorithmic consensus. The expertise required to actually fix the system slowly vanishes. The most effective tactic for navigating 2026 relies on Socratic ignorance. Socrates was considered wise because he admitted his own limits. Admitting you do not know the full context of an AI's output is an operational advantage. This diagram illustrates the centaur model, a system designed to protect human expertise. It creates a symbiotic network. The AI loop handles the formal statistical analytics, and the distinct human node enforces subjective behavioral context. Notice how the data loop halts here. This is the first rule of intelligent choice architecture, enforcing a human in the loop. An automated system is never allowed to finalize high-stakes processes, like legal contracts, without an explicit manual audit. The second rule is semantic alignment. As you see these nodes uniform their outputs, it represents a team defining their terms before deployment. If different departments disagree on what constitutes an active customer, the AI agents will miscommunicate and destabilize. The final operational shift is stepping away from the single optimized command. You configure your AI to present 3 satisficing, good enough options. This forces the human operator to stay actively engaged in evaluating the environment, preserving their cognitive muscles. We treat the myth of Icarus as a warning against using advanced tools to fly too high. But his failure was not his ambition. It was his complete lack of environmental data regarding the heat of the sun. In a landscape where prompt engineering is completely automated, basic AI literacy holds little value. Your actual competitive advantage is decision literacy. It is the discipline of knowing exactly where cold machine computation ends and bounded human wisdom begins.